section B, you have your grammar, which is like you have you have your gap filling, editing, all that you've done all these years up to class 10. That's for 6 marks, I told you all. And then you have your section C. Section C is literature. Literature, you will be tested with questions from your poetry, reference to context questions. Then you have short answer questions from both the textbook. And then you have 3 6-mark questions, totaling 18 marks, which will be an extrapolatory questions where you actually substantiate your answers with whatever you stand for, whatever your point of view is. Okay. Can anyone tell me, can some of you tell me if you've all, some of you just told me initially when class had started that you did not have your textbook. How many of you have your Hornbill and your snapshots with you all? Does anyone have the snapshots and the Hornbill with you all? No, am I audible to you all?
Yes, ma'am.
You all have
No,
your
ma'am.
snapshots and your,
Ma'am, I have
you all have,
snapshot.
okay, fine.
Ma'am, I have Hornbill.
Hornbill, okay.
Ma'am, I have
All right.
PDF for both.
Very good. You can actually download it, okay, all of you. I think it makes more sense to download it, children. So some of you have just joined in. I'd like to show you a PPT I have just made for you all to get an idea of what exactly your paper components are. Like I was just mentioning, your paper has 3 sections, section A, section B, and section C. And what exactly forms each of these sections. Before I start with anything in your literature section, I'd like to introduce you to the concept or the topic of note making. Now, note making is something extremely scoring if you know the right technique to do it. Okay, so let me just share that PPT with you all. Okay, children, this is the syllabus and the breakup of your, this PPT has everything that is part of your question paper, your syllabus. I'll send it in the group after our class is over so that you get an idea. I was talking to you all about what forms section A, what forms section B, and what forms section C. I'm going straight away to the concept of note making because this is for 8 marks. Okay. Does anyone know what note making is? Any idea? Before I just start about note making, anyone has any idea what note making is about?
Ma'am, writing short points for remembering in future.
Exactly. Excellent. Okay.
Ma'am,
This
a
is
brief reference of a topic.
a brief reference of a topic, but then yes, you're right. In a way, you're right. You know what? When you read a long paragraph about something, you read a long essay. You can't memorize everything, and not all points in that essay are important. So what you have to do is first you need to just skim it over. Okay, it's called skimming and scanning. That is the technique of a good note making exercise. So you skim through it to know if anything is of extreme importance, because there are usually paragraphs in a note making passage. And then you scan it properly, paragraph by paragraph, in order to take down short points, your notes. You're going to be making short notes, and this technique of making notes will not have anything like your prepositions or your auxiliary verbs, and even conjunctions. You don't have to give importance to those. While you're taking down the notes, you'll also be using short forms for certain big words. Okay? And will run through the rules one by one, but I'm just concising it, and I'm telling you all. So after you finish that notes, what you do is you take into account all the short forms you've just used for those long words. Now the rule is that there should be minimum 4 short forms and maximum 8 short forms. You'll draw a small box which is called the key to abbreviations. You'll jot down all these short forms used and then write the elaborated word next to it inside the box. That box is for 1 mark. You'll write key to abbreviations on top. So we've finished writing down the notes, we've finished writing down the key to abbreviations. Now we have another step called summarizing it. So you don't revert to the original paragraph or the original passage that you had actually started writing the notes for. When you're writing your summary, you'll be referring to the points, to the notes you had jotted down while writing bringing out the important points or notes of your note making. You'll revert to those notes and then you'll combine it together, put it in a sequential manner and write the summary. The rule is that summary should not be beyond 80 to 100 words. It should be as short as possible. And whatever title you had given your notes initially, that will be repeated here for the summary. So the summary carries 4 marks and your note making exercise carries 4 marks. If you know the technique, if you know how to present it in a very neat manner, you can aim to get your 8 marks, and which is very important. As far as the comprehension is concerned, you know the trick to effective comprehension skills. You've been doing comprehension right from class 2. However, just to digress from my note making advice, I'm going to comprehension. Comprehension you can actually do, you can finish it fast if you go through the questions first. Don't read the paragraph first. Read through the questions first. The word attack questions also first. You read the questions first and then you start reading your comprehension. That is the most effective way you will actually write a good comprehension. You'll answer your comprehension questions well. Okay, coming back to the note making, once your summary is done and presentation is good, you actually have almost got your full marks. Okay, I want to present to you this example. We have an example here, example passage here on conversation, and it is divided into 4 paragraphs. There are bullets there, roughly 4 paragraphs, and every time you actually read a paragraph, it's going to contain 3 important parts of note making. One is the main point, and the second aspect is the sub point, and the third aspect is the sub point. So when you decide that one paragraph is not as important as the rest, you can combine 2 paragraphs also. So I'm just starting this. So go through that. It's about conversation, and then the questions are like this. Make notes on the contents, it's on, not an, on the contents of the above paragraph in any format. Using abbreviations, supply a suitable title also. That's for 4 marks. And make a summary of the passage, 4 marks. Now, when you read the question, make notes on the contents of the above paragraph in any format. Formats, I'm going to introduce you to the format, most commonly used technique and format, but you can also make a flow chart, you can draw a web design, and you can draw a pie chart also, but then those are a little complicated. It's going to eat into your time of writing the entire paper. Okay, so we come to the method. So the first thing is you write the question number. Writing the question number is of extreme importance because sometimes children forget to write that and they end up losing marks. So it's all about presentation and exactly writing specifically according to the question. So the first thing is your title. You've already decided what title you want to give once you go through your passage. Okay, and let me tell you, if there are 4 lakh children writing the exam, board exam, I'm talking about the board exam 12th standard, there'll be 4 lakh different types of note making techniques. So it's as unique to a student as possible. So here we have, below the title is the word notes. Is it visible to everyone what I'm just showing?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes,
All right.
yes, ma'am.
Okay. So when you're writing the title, remember the title will not be beyond, it should not be in one word. Title or the heading for your passage, your notes, should be in 3 or 4 words. Below that, you write the word notes and you can start using short forms. Now, these are integral to an effective note making exercise. Writing short forms, writing sub points, and writing the sub points, and indentation. Indentation is how beautifully you organize your points and numbering it properly. You can number this the same thing that you're seeing in the same way possible, just one below the other, but if there is no indentation, you lose your marks. So that is the reason why I've written the first point as I've shortened that: conversation dash most easily teachable art. Now, whenever you write a short form, a shortened form word for a long word, the rule is that you underline it and put a dot next to it. Have you read newspapers? When they write the word government, they don't write GOVERNMENT. The universally understandable short form for government is GOVT. So when you see that shortened version, you always see a dot next to it. So it is an integral part of your note making process. So you write that dot next to the shortened word, underline the shortened word, or you circle it with a pencil. This is the way you'll present it. No good note making exercise will have a long sentence in your notes. We are not looking for grammatically right sentences. We don't want long sentences. We're just seeing how effectively the student has actually concised his notes or reduced his notes, the points to notes. So there you have this 1.1. That's the first part. That's called a sub point. So you have all those words which are short forms. Actually, interesting is also a shortened word. I should have put a dot there and underlined it. And then you have the second point, the second sub point, talk about other fellows' interesting hobby, interest and hobby. So you have that also as a short form, underlined and a dot put next to it. Then you have something called the sub point. Now, when we correct as examiners for the board, when we correct the note making task, we also look for the sub point. Sub point in some form or the other, in under some point or the other, is a mandatory aspect of a good note making exercise. So you have over there the sub point. So under the second point, 1.2, I have 4 sub points. Okay, this is the way you'll put it across there. Then you leave some space, go on to the second paragraph of your passage. So the second paragraph again has the first point there, and then the second point, and you have sub points for the second point. Okay, and then I go back to, I'm still not done with the second paragraph, so I go back to the third point of the second paragraph. Okay, and then I have the third point, meaning I've combined this third and the fourth paragraph because it wasn't one of the paragraphs did not have enough points. So that's how I've made the third point. Under the third point of the third point, that is under the sub point, I have made another sub point. Okay, so you shouldn't make your notes run into 7 or 8 points. That's too much, and it's not worth the marks that it's allotted for. Okay, that this note making task is allotted. So ensure that you have at least 4. 5 is also okay, but not beyond 5. Okay, supposing the passage is very long, you can go up to 5 points, 5 sub points, and under that sub points, whatever. You need to ensure that you have sub points everywhere. The next step is writing the key to abbreviations. You remember all these short forms you've written. It's important that you actually elaborate those short forms in that box. Okay, you need to just put a dot next to those short forms you've made. You need not underline it in the box. Now, here is another advice or one of the rules. Supposing your notes have about 15 to 16 shortened words. That's okay. It doesn't matter. I'm not talking about the repetitive aspects. I'm talking about 16 shortened words. Then what you will do is, the most difficult to understand words will be the ones that you'll project here, and it can total, I told you, maximum 8. Minimum 4, maximum 8. Don't go beyond 8. So write those 8 short forms here, elaborate that next to it. Okay, and that's your second step. The third step to your note making procedure is called the summary. You write the word summary. You will also write the same topic that you have written there. Remember, at the beginning of it, you had written the art of conversation. That is your title. So you give the same heading here, heading, title, whatever you want to call it. So you write the same title here, and you write the summary. The summary should not, rules of the summary are, you should not go beyond 100 words. 80 to 100 words is the actual ideal length for your summary. Summary will not have the title as part of its word count, so don't worry about that. Second, there will be no short forms in your summary. Third, the summary should be an amalgamation of all the notes you had made. No examiner will have to revert to the original passage. And every student, after writing down the notes, should look at the notes to put everything in a flowing, sequential manner in the summary. Because to have disconnected points and disconnected sentences would mean you'd have your marks cut. That is not important. So, I mean, that is important. You need not have your marks cut. So make sure that you follow these rules for an ideal summary. And I have an exercise for you, which I'll be posting in the group for your note making task. Okay. I'd like you all to do this, since I'll be posting this, sending this PPT itself to the class group. Make sure you write a proper note making exercise and write your name, write it in your notebook. Okay. If you haven't got a notebook, then I suggest that you keep a file write note-making passages only in this file on sheets of paper. Make sure you write your name, roll number, class, and section and all that. So it's easy for us to give you the marks for your internal assessment. Internal assessment is going to be dependent on your speaking skills. If we get to have a regular class, then we can have you speak on a topic in the class for marks, or it would be dependent on all the assignments we'll be giving you to do so that you don't lose your marks. So has anyone
Ma'am,
got, yes,
ma'am, do we need to write the question also?
you can take a
That
printout.
passage?
Is that possible? Yes, it is important that you actually take a printout and paste it. That way it's easier instead of writing it, okay? Is that
Okay.
possible? Take a
Ma'am,
printout, paste it, and then you can write your note making over there. Okay.
Ma'am,
Yes,
ma'am, I have a
yes, please tell me.
big notebook, so I can write in that. I have a big notebook, so I can write in
You
that notebook.
Ma'am,
you can write in your notebook also. Okay?
Ma'am?
Okay.
Yeah.
What is preferred, A4 sheet or book?
A4 sheet would be the most ideal for note making students,
Okay.
because note making is going to be not restricted to just one exercise. I'm going to be giving you many exercises to do note making until you acquire proficiency, some level of proficiency by the time you come to class 12. Okay?
Okay.
So my suggestion is restrict your notebook to other things, other question answers we'll be doing with regard to literature and all that. But note making can be, it's preferable to have a file and sheets of paper, loose sheets, so that you can give it to me for correction. Everything that will be corrected is based on for your internal assessment. Remember that. Any other doubts? Were you all present when I was talking about the paper breakup? Or you need me to go through it once more, children? This PPT has your paper content, what your paper exactly consists of. So you would like me to go through it, or shall I go ahead and give you a synopsis of the first lesson in your hornbills, and then those of you who have the textbook and the PDF and all that can actually follow me. I'm going to be reading that. Whatever you all say, I'd like one or two students to just tell me so
Ma'am,
that I get.
ma'am,
You can
could you
start the
please go
synopsis
through
of
it
that.
again? Actually, I joined late because of my connection problem. So could you please go
No
through
problem.
the paper?
Absolutely, no problem. Okay.
Thank you,
So
ma'am.
yeah. All right, children. Your English core is called the subject code for your English core. Your English core is the name of your subject in class 11 and 12, and the subject code is 301. Your paper is for 80 marks. The 20 marks will come from your internal assessment, and that is why it is important that you attend your English lectures and submit whatever I ask you to submit so that you get your 20 marks. Now, your paper is divided into 3 sections. Section A is the reading section, which is for 20 marks. Section B is your writing section, which is your writing task and your grammar together. And section C is your literature. So we'll go step by step. Your reading section, which is for 20 marks, will be broken into 12 plus 8. The 12 marks is for the comprehension that you have always been doing all these years. Should not be a problem at all. And the second part of your reading section is your note making, which I was just going through now. Note making is the new component in the new introduction in your paper, your syllabus. Now, 12 plus 8 is 20 marks. Remember, your comprehension is relatively easy because you're going to be having short questions, but since you'll have your those objective type of answers to choose from, you need to have gone through that passage properly in order to not lose your marks. Okay, so then we go to section B. This is for 30 marks. So the first question is your writing task, which is for 4 marks, and then you have topics like notice, the poster. Notice and poster, I'm sure all of you are familiar with because you've been doing it consistently and throughout your uh, classes all these years. But what is new here is your advertisement. You'll be taught advertisements which can be broken into two parts, the classified and the commercial. Commercial advertisements are what you see on the billboards or the print media. So you'll be taught how to create those advertisements, and the classifieds, which form part of your classified section of the newspaper. Those also, there are certain rules to write those. So you'll be taught that. These are all for your, and also there's something else called the invitation. Invitation is not written here, yes, but invitation is very much a part of it. How you write a formal invitation, how you write an informal invitation, and responses to that. Response is agreeing to attend a function, not agreeing to attend a function. So these are also for 4 marks. So that's your 4 marker. Then we go on to the 6 mark questions. So you have letters. So that could be a business letter, an official letter, writing to the principal, seeking permission for something, placing orders, which you have been doing in class 9 and 10, placing orders or cancelling an order, and then writing a job application. Job application is a lengthy letter because it's a letter plus your resume along with it, again for 6 marks. Then you have what is called as article. Article writing also, I'm sure all of you are familiar with it. It's a very simple process, but I'll be going through that also soon with you all. So article writing based on any topic that you're given, along with the gist and the hints and how you build it up, and an effective article, how you write an effective article. That is important. You also have the speech and the debate. Debate is just like the speech, but you have a stand. You take the against or the for stand. But whatever you speak, even in front of the morning assembly, you need to substantiate it with enough facts and points. And then we have what is called as report writing. Report writing is also broken into 2 parts. One is a normal report written about some science exhibition or a function or an annual, the annual day of your school, or it can also be a news report. So we have that also. These are all part of your writing tasks. Apart from the writing tasks, we have part of this section B as grammar. We have grammar here. Again, grammar is not questioned like asking your definitions for something. These are all applied grammar where it will come to you. See, I'm just going through that grammar part. 6 objective type questions and then 6 marks for it. You'll have gap filling, sentence reordering, dialogue completion, and sentence transformation. Yes, you'll have sentence transformation. The only difficult part here in the grammar part is simple sentence, the clauses, simple, the complex, and the compound. So the clauses are a very important part of this, as well as the active and the passive voice, and the direct and the indirect. So the reported speech. Only these 3 things are probably a little difficult, where you'll be given the sentences, you'll be asked to transform it. Apart from that, you have your error correction, your editing. So these are things you've already been doing. All right. So maybe towards after we've started off on all our classes, one of the classes I can take up your clauses and direct and indirect, as well as your active and the passive voice, because these will be tested here for you. We go to the literature. Section C is literature. Literature has the reference to context questions, which are again 1 mark each. You've been doing this in your class 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 also. And then you have short answer questions from one of the 2 textbooks. You have from both textbooks rather, 2 mark questions into 5 questions. And then you have 3 long questions, mostly summarizing this whatever lesson you've been asked question from, along with substantiating them with your points. So 6 marks each, not easy to get the 6 marks unless it's impeccably written. So that just about summarizes your theory paper. As far as your 20 marks is concerned, it's going to be dependent on whatever tasks I'm giving you, such as note making, writing the questions and answers to certain lessons, poems and all that. And probably if we have a real-time class later, I can ask you to speak on any topic impromptu, because we need to have proof of giving you the marks. Okay, children? So far so good. Are we all on the same page now? Yes?
Yes, ma'am.
All right now. And then I gave you all points for actually addressing a note-making question. All right. Now, I wouldn't like to waste much time. We have 20 more minutes for the class to end. I'd like to give you, an introduction to your textbook, the Hornbill. Even if you don't have it, please download it later, and we'll go step by step for that. So your Hornbill is a small textbook with many different kinds of stories and poems. And the first one here is important. It's called Portrait of a Lady by Khushwant Singh. All right. So can I go ahead and give you a synopsis, and then I can start reading it so that you all understand it? Is that okay with you all?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, fine. So before we continue, I would like to know the meaning of the word portrait. What is the meaning of the word portrait? You go to an art exhibition, you'd see the portrait of somebody. So what is a portrait? It has many connotations. Over here, a different one. By and large, what is the meaning of the word portrait? And watch the spelling, because I always get children writing P-O-T-R-A-I-T. It's P-O-R. So what exactly is the meaning of the word portrait? Yes? Whatever comes to your mind. I'd like to start it off with you all having understood the meaning of that word. Yes?
A painting or something else.
Exactly. Painting of generally a person. Okay, class? Yeah. Generally uh, generally it is portrait is a painting of a person. Okay. So over here, Khushwant Singh has actually he's talking about his grandmother. It's an excerpt from his autobiographical account. Okay. I think the original work is called Train to Pakistan, if any of you have read it. It's just a part of that. And it's talking about the equation between him and his grandmother. Okay, children? It's talking about him and his grandmother, the equation they shared. Okay. Now, I'll just summarize this story before I start reading it. And then probably in the next class, whenever we have it, I'll continue the story and then do a poem also. So Khushwant Singh opens our eyes, the reader's eyes, to the fact that there's a deep equation that is shared between every grandchild and his or her grandparent. There are certain interactions that cannot be, the same kind of interactions cannot be shared with the parents. Okay. So can any of you tell me why? So why is that equation special between a child and his or her grandparents? Why is it special?
Is the connection between more than one generation.
Exactly.
And it's every.
It's a very special equation, and grandparents are more doting than the parents to their grandchildren. Okay, so this was when Kushwant Singh was a child, and his parents were in the city. He was in the village with his grandparents, his grandmother. Okay, over here it talks about his grandmother because he had lost his grandfather long ago. His grandmother, although not very well read or educated in the modern sense of the word, and not a very urban person, had a lot of common sense. Now, common sense is not so common, like I always tell my students. Common sense comes with a deep sense of intelligence and also experience. So, Kushwant Singh was brought up by his grandmother, and this story tells us about the kind of interaction he had at every stage of his life with her. And although towards the end, there isn't much of a verbal exchange, the connection between them is still very deep. Okay? Childhood bonds never, disappear. So this is more about that equation he had established with his grandmother. So some of you who have the textbook, pay attention. Some of you who don't, you can listen to what I'm reading. I hope my voice is audible. My grandmother, like everybody's grandmother, was an old woman. Obviously, grandmothers are old people. She had been old and wrinkled for the 20 years that I had known her. People said that she had once been young and pretty and had even had a husband, but that was hard to believe because by the time he was born, he had probably lost his grandfather and it was only his grandmother. Am I audible to everyone?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay.
Yes, ma'am.
Yes,
All
ma'am.
right.
Yes, ma'am.
All right. My grandfather's portrait hung above the mantelpiece in the drawing room. So we have that word here, portrait. Now the portrait here of the grandfather is a different one when we actually read the title of this lesson, Portrait of a Lady. Portrait of a Lady is Kushwant Singh drawing his grandmother, is a pen portrait he's drawing of his grandmother to us readers. The grandfather's portrait hung above the mantelpiece in the drawing room means the grandfather's painting was hung on the mantelpiece. What's a mantelpiece, by the way? Mantelpiece is that
No
place.
idea, ma'am.
Okay, it is a place where you can actually. It comes above the fireplace, and it's
Something like a stand.
something like a stand. Very good. Okay, below that comes the fireplace. That's the way it is. So all these huge mansions, huge buildings, huge homes had a compulsory mantelpiece in the drawing room. He wore a big turban and loose-fitting clothes. His long white beard covered the best part of his chest, and he looked at least 100 years old. He did not look the sort of person who would have a wife or children. He looked as if he could only have lots and lots of grandchildren. So he was looking very old, aged, that way. As for my grandmother, being young and pretty, the thought was almost revolting. Okay, now this is very important. It's given in bold also in the textbook. As for my grandmother being young and pretty, the thought was almost revolting. Now, can anyone just give me the meaning of this? What this
Ma'am,
line means? Yes.
it was hard to believe that his grandmother was also young once.
Yeah. Very good. Very good. So, uh, pretty is associated with probably things that are of ephemeral value. Ephemeral is transient. That is not of permanent duration. Okay. Pretty and young, of course. Youth is also ephemeral, and that is why he says the thought was almost revolting because she was more than that. She was very beautiful. He looked as if he could. Okay. As for my grandmother being young and pretty, the thought was almost revolting. She often told us of the games she used to play as a child. So, every equation between a grandmother and grandchild is peppered with experiences in the form of stories she or he narrates, or the grandfather would narrate. So, the grandmother would always make it interesting to talk to the grandchild about experiences of her past in the form of a story. Now, tell me one thing. Would your parents invest the same amount of time your grandmother would invest in you all by telling you all elaborate stories? That's
No,
not
ma'am.
it's not possible because of probably the compulsion of a livelihood. You know, so that is why grandparents have all the time in the world, and they spend it in a very productive manner by giving values, advice, and experiences, lessons of experience to the grandchild in the form of stories. So she often told us of the games she used to play as a child. That seemed quite absurd and undignified on her part, and we treated it like the fables of the prophets she used to tell us. It was difficult to believe that this aged person actually played as a child. So this is supposed to be a little humorous. So he's trying to bring a lighter vein to the stories. Now, she had always been short and fat and slightly bent. So he's describing her physical aspect. She had always been short and fat and slightly bent.
Ma'am,
Probably bending, yeah, yes.
what is the meaning of fables of the prophets?
Those mythological stories,
Oh,
okay, which
yeah.
are sometimes, values in the form of stories, okay, for people to learn it better.
Okay.
She had always been short and fat and slightly bent. Her face was a crisscross of wrinkles running from everywhere to everywhere. Okay, so crisscross of wrinkles running from everywhere to everywhere. Can anyone tell me? This has a deeper meaning. That is why I'm asking you all. What
Her
is that?
entire face was wrinkled.
But why? What do you think they are?
Ma'am, she was old. That's
She
why.
was old. Crisscross of wrinkles also means the kind of life lessons one
Yes.
learns. Yes, scars. Okay, the scars of life leave a lot of wrinkles on one's face. Even hands, when we work a lot with our hands have a lot of scars. That is scars of experience. Likewise, her face. She had always been short and fat and slightly bent. Her face was a crisscross of wrinkles running from everywhere to everywhere. So she was really old and she was a very experienced person. This is the meaning or the connotation of that. No, we were certain she had always been as we had known her. So they could not even imagine her young or the younger version of her. Old, so terribly old that she could not have grown older. That was how they had seen her. She was always so old and had stayed at the same age for 20 years. It was like she was frozen in time. Just a minute. I think Parthina is messaging me something. Oh, okay. Yes, yes. You know what, children? Parthina has asked me if it's an A4 sheet for your note making task. Yes, better to have an A4 sheet neatly written on top your name, class, and all that, and filed properly so that every page, every assignment you submit will be corrected also.
Ma'am, A4 sized line sheet, no?
Huh. Yes. Preferably plain sheet, but in these times where you can't even visit a shop, if you have rule sheets, also good. And again, if you don't have loose rule sheets, if you have old papers from your notebook, don't throw that away. You can write on it, cut it neatly, file it also. I'm ready for those also. Okay, children, let's make use of everything without wasting anything. Okay, so I'm reverting to the story. Old, so terribly old that she could not have grown older and had stayed at the same age for 20 years. That means she was frozen in time. She was as old as she had always looked. She could never have been pretty. Now, like I told you all, pretty is an adjective associated with anything that's ephemeral, that's temporary, that's not long lasting. Okay? Okay? Uh, it's not permanent. But she was always beautiful. So he goes on to subtly tell us that beautiful is different from pretty. Now, can anyone also tell me what it means to you, the difference between beautiful and pretty.
I'm beautiful would probably mean beautiful from heart.
Very good. Yes, beautiful from heart.
It's the physical appearance, maybe.
What did you say?
And pretty probably means the physical appearance.
Physical appearance. Yes, good. So she was always, she had a heart of gold. Okay, that was what he's trying to tell us. And the beauty from within uh, had a way of projecting itself outside, and that's why she looked beautiful. But she was always, have you seen kind and compassionate people are always very appealing. So they have that attractive, aspect to them, their personality. It's like that. She was a very kind person, but she was always very beautiful. She hobbled about the house in spotless white. So she always wore white. She hobbled about the house means always active and moving here and there in spotless white, with one hand resting on her waist to balance her stoop, and the other telling the beads of a rosary. Telling the beads of a rosary means not to say anything verbally, but to move the beads in you know, a kind of a necklace, a chain kind of thing, where every bead is like a mantra or some words of some holy words. Okay, it's like that. Telling the beads of her rosary. Her silver locks. Silver locks means what? House locks that are silver in color. What are silver locks?
Her hair.
Yeah. And
Grey
why
hair.
silver? Grey hair. Very good. Her silver locks were scattered untidily over her pale, puckered face, and her lips constantly moved in inaudible prayer. So she was always connected to the universal spirit or to God. She would always be inaudibly mouthing some prayer. Okay, so this is her description. Okay, you need to mark this. Yes, she was beautiful. She was like the winter landscape in the mountains, an expanse of pure white serenity, breathing peace and contentment. So these are the other aspects he's trying to convey to us with that comparison he's making. So she was an expanse of, she was like the winter landscape in the mountains, an expanse of pure white serenity, breathing peace and contentment. She was a very peace emanating person. You know, you love being around people who are peaceful because they also radiate that peace. So she radiated that peace, that feeling of comfort, peace, and of comforting a person. So that the first paragraph is important to write the character sketch of the grandmother. In the words of the grandson, my grandmother and I were good friends. My parents left me with her when they went to live in the city, and we were constantly together. She used to wake me up in the morning and get me ready for school. She said her morning prayer in a monotonous sing song while she bathed and dressed me, in the hope that I would listen and get to know it by heart. I listened because I loved her voice, but never bothered to learn it. So he loved the voice, the sonorous voice, the monotonous voice of his grandmother, but he probably did not make an effort to learn it by heart. But he loved her saying those morning prayers. I listened because I loved her voice, but never bothered to learn it. Then she would fetch my wooden slate, which she had already washed and plastered with yellow chalk, a tiny earthen ink pot, and a red pen, tie them all in a bundle and hand it to me. So school was so simple in those days gone by. These were the smallest things needed, the bare essentials needed to go to school. One would just take these, and uh, for the lower classes, for the elementary classes, children would actually carry a slate, okay? And they practiced by writing on the slate. And that concept is not there these days. Okay. A tiny earthen ink pot and a red pen. Tie them all in a bundle and hand it to me. After a breakfast of a thick, stale chapati with a little butter and sugar spread on it, we went to school. So, what does this tell you about her? She doesn't even waste. She doesn't waste it because it's yesterday's food. She thinks that the best way to use it would be to modify it a bit and give it to her grandchild. Apart from the grandchild, many other creatures also. She carried several stale chapatis. What is the meaning of the word stale?
Ma'am, a
Deteriorating
day
or
before
rotting.
chapat.
Old chapatis. Okay,
Yes,
old.
yes, ma'am. Old chapatis, basi.
Yes, Partinav, I am reading the textbook. I'm reading the textbook because many of you don't have the book, and I'd rather read it and explain it line by line, and it's our first lesson. Okay, that's why.
Yes, ma'am. Okay,
After
ma'am.
a breakfast of a thick stale chapati with a little butter and sugar spread on it, we went to school. She carried several stale chapatis with her for the village dog. Okay, she also believed in that part. You know, all villagers or people of the older generation also believe that we should always feed the other creatures which coexist with us. Okay, and it's an important aspect of human evolution also. When other creatures are happy, we are happy. So it's a chain. My grandmother always went to school. So the second paragraph is very important about her day-to-day activity. My grandmother always went to school with me because the school was attached to the temple. The priest taught us the alphabet and the morning prayer. While the children sat in rows on either side of the veranda singing the alphabet or the prayer in a chorus, my grandmother sat inside reading the scriptures. When we had both finished, we would walk back together. This time, the village dogs would meet us at the temple door. They followed us to our home, growling and fighting with each other for the chapatis we threw to them. Now, the grandmother was a very integral part of his childhood. She ensured that she gave him enough moral support, stayed with him in the temple itself, in the temple while he attended school, and he became uh, dependent on her emotionally also. Okay, okay, children, it's 11 o'clock. You have another class now, right?
No, ma'am.
You all don't have another class now, all of you.
No, ma'am. Ma'am, CS class is on Thursday.
Okay. Now, what class do you have now?
Ma'am, no class.
Okay. All of you don't have a class. Can I just finish up to this next paragraph and stop there? And
Yes,
then
ma'am,
we
you
can
can.
continue next. Okay, fine. So she carried several stale chapatis with her for the village dogs. My grandmother always went to school with me because the school was, oh, I finished that. When my parents were comfortably settled in the city, they sent for us. That was a turning point in our friendship. Now, this is very important to underline that. Okay, that was a turning point in our friendship. Why? Because somewhere there's a new transition from village life to city life. Okay, so you can mark that as one. Although we shared the same room, my grandmother no longer came to school with me. Now, in cities, children had to go to school by school bus. I used to go to an English school in a motor bus. There were no dogs in the street, and she took to feeding sparrows in the courtyard of our city house. So, by and large, her heart was large. She liked to feed other creatures. So, when she decided that there was a dearth of dogs, she wanted to feed other creatures. So, she took to feeding the sparrows. As the years rolled by, we saw less and less. We saw less of each other. As the years rolled by, as many years passed, we saw less of each other. That's also because of the many other distractions and other duties of a student that, family connections become little slowly disconnected. But for some time, she continued to wake me up, and get me ready for school. When I came back, she would ask me what the teacher had taught me. I would tell her English words and little things of Western science and learning, the law of gravity, Archimedes' principle, the world being round, etc. This made her unhappy. To mark this also is very important because somehow people of the older generation did not approve of the education, the content of the knowledge taught in the modern school, city school. She could not help me with my lessons. That was also sad. She felt sad because of that she could not help the grandchild with his lessons. And she did not believe in the things they taught at the English school. So there are two things. She could not help, and she did not believe in the concepts that were imparted as part of knowledge in the English school, and was distressed that there was no teaching about God and the scriptures. The underlying aspect or the important aspect is that there was nothing taught about God and the scriptures.
साइंस मैम ने बोला कि नोटबुक में टेस्ट मत लिखो, एक piece of paper पे लिखो.
One day I announced that we were being given music lessons. She was very disturbed. To her, music had lewd associations. It was the monopoly of harlots and beggars and not meant for gentlefolk. She said nothing, but her silence meant disapproval. She rarely talked to me after that. Okay, children, you can just mark it here. We will continue in the next class when we have, okay? Make sure you start writing that. I'll put that note-making package on the group, okay? Okay, children.
Thank you, ma'am.
All right.
Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you, ma'am.
Um,
Thank you, ma'am.